Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. After our adventures in Astro Knight's Eternity earlier this week, and finishing... What were we doing last week? Trying to remember what we were doing off the top of my head last week. Oh, we were doing U-Boat Leader from DVG, which turned out to be a bit of a flop. We're actually headed back up into our German Interceptor as we played Interceptor Ace Volume 1 from Compass Games. This is another Gregory Smith design where like I said, we're in the control of a German interceptor over the daytime skies of World War II Europe. We're in a Bf-110G2, which you can see in the sheet and shot here. We're about to start our fourth sortie of October 1943, so let's jump right into it. I'm just going to have to refresh my memory on the procedure here. Alright, so first we roll a D10 for the weather. Actually, it's 2D6 for weather. D10, I think, is for interception later. A 10 says it's just barely good weather. I'm hoping to get like 2 or 3 sorties in tonight, but we'll see how that goes. Then we roll for the raid target. Obtain incoming raid information by checking on the... Oh, it looks like we roll on the raid chart first. That takes another 2d6 roll, as this is October 1943. A 5 says they're going after Frankfurt. So I believe we move our craft to the... So we're Dutch. Actually, we're in the Munster base. So we moved to Frankfurt. Actually, we moved for takeoff. I'm a little rusty at this. Move from the takeoff endurance box. Move the takeoff endurance box to the raid location endurance box. So from the takeoff box, move directly to France. We're using that as our example. Okay. There's supposed to be a fuel gauge here, I think, as well. Maybe not an Interceptor Ace. Welcome in, Jay. How are you doing tonight? We're just starting our first raid, and I'm a little bit rusty at this, so bear with me a little bit. We have to roll for takeoff next, which there should have been a reference on takeoff roll here. That's not it. Or is it might just be straight takeoff. I thought there was a... Okay, never mind. So in the raid location endurance box, we roll a D10 for interception. I'm going to be on this B1 chart right here, rolling for interception. That's another 2D6. Alright, so this is Frankfurt. Right. Move from the to the raid location endurance box. Okay, and then we're rolling through that. I will mention that I've been thinking about putting the hunters on the channel since I started streaming, but I'm not completely sure I want to do that yet. So this will serve as a test for the hunters type. Basically, the hunters universe is kind of where I'm going with that. All right, rolling for interception. 7 says we're head on with something, I believe. Yes. Okay, so we have to roll for what we're head on with. If there's no interception and nothing occurs, roll on the aircraft target chart. So Frankfurt, we're head on. Excuse me. Night Fighter Ace, but not Interceptor Ace. Well, I appreciate the input there. I also have Night Fighter Ace, but it's been a hot minute since I've gotten these games to the channel, so again, a little rusty on that. Anywho, so we roll on the target chart. see what we're head-on against. So I believe that will indicate a fighter encounter? Looks like it. Alright, so we're rolling on the aircraft target chart. The fighter we're up against is the P-47. Love the hunters and the hunted. Favorite has to be Silent Victory. Cool, we're of the same mind on that front then. Let's go into the chits here to pull out the P-43. I know there's one hiding in here. There had to be. Oh no, we're against the P-47. I'm blind. Okay, so there should be a combat area for fighters, I thought. That's the bomber chart, but that's not helpful here. Bomber target chart. Oh, here we go. Fighter. B-11, P-47. Okay. So as mentioned, we are head-on with the fighter. I'm going to grab another chit. I'm going to see if I can grab something else so I can track that that's where we are. So we're head-on with that. All right. No special effect against bombers. Escort will start that orientation if the interceptor begins fighter combat. Okay. To start, must first decide if we're attacking the bomber or any escorts. Wait, what? Okay, They're starting disadvantaged in bombers. I think we are going to try to chase the fighter off first. So we are going to... So P-47... I'm presuming head-on means we're attacking the escort, but of course that's not particularly helpful. Oh no, I think it would say if we're having a fighter encounter, so I think we actually are against the bombers. So we have to roll for what bomber we've got coming at us. I wish it explained what each result actually meant in the interception table. But it doesn't look like it's going to. Well, so presumably... So what I think is happening here is we're actually on the position chart. Wait, I'm confused. Because it doesn't say... I don't think there's an explanation of each actual chart. If interception... So it looks like we're head-on, but I can't figure out if we're head-on with the fighter or with the bomber. And there's supposed to be a tracker for fuel on here, but I can't find that. Because of course that would make too much sense. So it looks like we are encountering... I think it would specify if it was a fighter encounter, so I think we are against the bomber, which means now we have to roll a D10 for the bomber that we're... Is it a D10 for the bomber we're up against? Without sending everything else flying, yes. So we've got so we're in October 43. 1 to 9 means we'll be up against a B-17F. A 0 means we'll be against a B-17G. I'm not sure what the none roll is for, though. For a B-24. But looks like we're rolling for either a B-17F or G. All right, a 1 says we're up against a B-17F, so let's grab that chit out instead. Actually, do we even need the chit? I don't think so. I don't think we even need that. but I will bring the... How do I want to do this? This is why I usually record these videos, because I typically end up having to move the charts around. So I think we can make that just barely work. I don't have the bomber and shot though, so I don't completely like that. So we'll leave that there. We are head on to it, but we have to determine where we're coming at it from. So we roll a D. So this is so confusing. I apologize. I should practice this more, but no special effect against bombers. Okay, after moving to the rate interception, roll for interception. If there's no interception, then nothing occurs. Roll on the aircraft. If an interception occurs, roll on the aircraft target chart to determine the type of bomber. So we're up against... Where did I put my pen now? God, I'm so scatterbrained tonight. Here we are. So we're up against a B-17 Frankfurt. B-17F. And I've got the chart just off shot. All right, so we are head on to that, but we have to roll for the location of... Actually, we do need the B-17 here, which I just had the chit in my hand. There it is. Maybe we don't need this position chart. I don't think we actually do. Doesn't look like we actually need that chart, so I can actually get that back out of shot. And then we'll bring this in here. So we start from long range. First pass. All right, so now we decide if we're obviously going after the bomber since there doesn't look to be any escort. I don't think there's an escort present on here. Didn't look like there was one. No fighters in May or June. Actually, there might be escort coverage here. Roll for interception. Decide whether to... We'll engage afterward and we're disadvantaged. So there is an escort present. I will take a shot at the bomber first though, so we will be dealing with the... Looks like we deal with the fighter afterwards. So they're gonna have the advantage on us. Okay, so now we start into combat from the... So aircraft facing each other on the fighter target. Face the aircraft. Okay, begins with escort bombers. Okay, the interception roll was not disadvantaged, so we don't have to go for that. If the starting orientation is interception is head-on or advantaged. So we are going after the bomber first. We'll be starting that from long range. We are going to use all of our forward weapons. So we'll flip the forward cannon over to both forward cannons over to ones. So we're attacking with 12 power. We're on one of the weaker bombers, so we'll be pulling a card from the combat deck. We have to designate an aim point. So craft target B-17F with P-47 escort. We have to designate a target, so we are going to target the... Let's target the airframe first. Airframe at 12 power. So we'll flip over a combat card. And since we're at... so we go... Actually, hold on. I've got to refresh my memory on this. So facing the enemy aircraft, you may shoot your forward weapons. The enemy aircraft will fire back at you. If not, you will use the defensive section of the card he flips. Fighter combat is considered to be at medium range. Okay, after shooting or making your defensive choice and flipping both cards, so we flip. So which one do we flip first? Is the next thing I want to know. We flip for fighter combat, yada yada yada. Okay, where's the procedure against bombers? Oh, bomber combat, duh. Okay, so we flip a card from the deck, which is our range attack. So we go to the firepower, and a 12 means we're going to be dealing 5 hits out. So follow the instructions as far as damage. Alright, ranges from a number of hits. So we're rolling 5 times on the airframe table since we were aiming at the airframe. I'll count out 5 hits in my logbook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll deal those out on the bomber target chart. Let's bring the dice tower. Put the dice tower and shot here. And then we'll roll up 5 hits. Excuse me. Alright, a 0 or a 10 is a Bombay hit. I think there's something special that we have to do with a Bombay hit. See, it seems like we'd have to roll for that. Come on. I'm trying to write this somewhat legibly in the logbook. So let's see what a Bombay hit entails. Okay, group point, no. Is there like an aircraft damage effect chart? A Bombay hit in the first 3 requires a 2d6 roll. Okay. So it looks like we roll 2d6 on the Bombay. There's another chart. So I'm looking on the aircraft damage listings chart, and I'm looking at the Bombay hit. That's a 2, so no effect. That's just an airframe hit. Alright, then we're rolling for the next hit. Wait a second. There's something about the gun jam on there, too. Card text will indicate if this has happened. Okay. And subtract that. Hold on. Back up. So we subtract. So the card text did indicate a gun jam there, which means we have to roll for a random gun if more than one jammed, and subtract that firepower. So either way, that's going to knock us down to 3 hits. But we've actually got 3 forward guns we were using. So 1 to 3 will jam the main forward guns. 4 to 6 will jam the first forward cannon. 7 to 9 will jam the third one, and 10 will be a reroll. That's a 9, so we'll jam the ventral cannon. Here's the gun jam. So we're actually on 8 firepower on the card, which is only 4 hits. So the Bombay hit had no effect. We'll roll for the next hit. Let's see, there should be a marker here for... Okay, so that was just an airframe hit. Six is a crew injury. Crew injury is for a 2d6 to determine who gets hit. Seven is the pilot gets hit. So crew injury, pilot. We're rolling another d6 for that. And the pilot takes a light wound. Their pilot takes a light wound. All right, rolling for the next hit. Two is another airframe hit. Actually, is there a modifier for at long range? That's the other question, because we are starting at long range, and it doesn't look like... oh, is it shown on the chart? Yes, it is. So we do have -1 random hit. So we're actually only dealing 3 hits. So we've dealt all 3 of our hits. So we're on... So we've dealt 2 airframe hits and a crew injury. Crew status pilot has a light wound. And now the pilot flips a second card for the defensive fire. So the pilot's card. Defensive fire, so we take 2 hits. And I believe for our hits, should be a group fighter damage chart on here somewhere. That's the raid chart. That's replacement. Game always tempts you, too many to play anyway. That's kind of how it goes, Tony. How's it going tonight? You're probably going to see me be very klutzy and slow with this one, especially now that I'm having to look for the fighter damage chart. So that's 2 hits. Let's see. Range effects on... It's probably a different chart. It's not that one. Fighter damage chart. We are in a fighter, so we'll be rolling the 2D. We'll be rolling our 2d6 APA style. For those of you who might not have played sports games, what I mean by that is we'll roll the 2 dice. We'll read black as our 10s and white as our 1s. So as an example roll of that, rolling that as a 3-4 like that, we'd read that as a 34, reading the black die first, then the white die. That wouldn't be a 7, so we've got to roll for 2 of those on the fighter damage chart. That's a 32. 32 is minor damage, so we just shake that one off. Actually, I believe they deal 1 hit as well, or -1 hit as well. Do -1 random hit at long range versus all BF 109, so never mind. So minor damage. And that's a 44. That can't be good. WFR GR21. Not sure what in the world that is, but looks like we don't have it, so we can just skip that. All right, next round of combat, I believe. Well, we have a chance to break off. No escorts. After each pass of combat, the player must decide whether to attack again or break off. For all rounds of combat, pass firing is simultaneous. Okay, so looks like we have another round of combat against the bomber, so we will move up to medium range. And essentially a minor damage hit. Second pass at medium range. And once again, we're going to aim at the airframe. We'll use both of our unjammed forward guns again. So that'll be a total of 8 firepower. And that'll be a GP, so that's a group point hit. which a group point hit translates not like that. So that's a group damage hit. Since we were aiming at the airframe, we deal controls. We deal a controls hit. Controls, that's another airframe hit. A gunner hit, which will deal with that. And we got 2 random hits. So the gunner hit has no effect against fighters even if they have a gunner, but we're against a bomber, so there is a crew injury. And we roll that against the gunner. That's a 3, so the gunner has a light wound on him as well. There's a light wound on the gunner. And now we've got to roll for 2 more random hits. And we were aiming at the airframe. 8 is a port engine hit. And actually, since we're at medium range now, it looks like we get +1 random hit. So port engine took a hit. We'll roll odds for inbound, inboard, evens for outboard. Evens, so an outboard hit. And then for our other hit, nine is a starboard engine hit now. We'll do the same thing there. 3, that one's an outboard hit. And then 1 more random hit for medium range. Ten is another Bombay hit, which will bring us back to the Bombay hit. So we have to roll to see if we take it out. That's a 10, so there's an explosion this time, which I believe is just enough. Seems like it should be enough to just take that one out, I would think. This time there was no jam on that one. So let me just see if there's something here. Aircraft display mat setup, that's not what I want to see. 19, those are the aircrafts. Crew injury. And there's nothing for damage because damage to fighter aircraft might be a good place to start. Not likely, but random hits on bomber is tracked with a numerical marker. So we'll get a 1 out for that. Okay, so now we're flipping for a defensive. So we flip for another card for defensive fire for the bomber. They're dealing 3 hits, but I think the gunner hit that we dealt earlier, yes, so we only take 2 random hits. But I haven't figured out yet if the explosion, it seems like the explosion should just take out this bomber. I would think it would anyway. Okay. It sure seems like it should be. Oh, those WFR GR21 are rockets, which this one doesn't have. Okay. But yeah, I'm thinking that Bombay hit just would just take out the bomber with the explosion. So that's what I'm going to go with for this one. I'm going to go with that the B-17F did get destroyed, and we've got a P-47 now that we have to deal with. But we've got to roll for our random hits first, which was back here. So once again, 2 random hits because we took out the gun, because we did a hit to the gunner. 33 on the fighter hit is an airframe hit for us. That could be a problem. Right. That's an airframe hit, and 25. That's a port engine hit. That's a little more problematic. And port engine. Alright, so I am ruling that we took out the B-17 bomber because that just makes sense. Which means that can go back to the box. This can leave shot for the time being. But we need the fighter target chart. And I am starting disadvantaged to the P-47, which is always fun. Alright, I don't think I've ever had to deal with fighter combat, so this is going to take me a little bit to get used to. Okay, combat with escorts or fighters, which we are starting disadvantaged, which means we're turned 90 to the side. I thought we were tailing. Okay. Alright, begins if he chose to attack bombers first. Okay, combat begins. We're not facing the enemy aircraft, so we don't get to fire there. We can choose a standard maneuver in lieu of a card draw. We can choose to go defensive by using the defense card, or use one of 2 standard maneuvers in lieu of a draw. So I think we're going to... We don't have a rear gunner on this craft. Actually, do we? No, I don't think... Oh, I rolled down the wrong chart for the first crew injury. Oh well. Alright, so we are going to take a shot on... We're going to... So we don't... It looks like we do have a rear gunner. Actually, we don't have a rear gun. I think there'd be an ammo value for that. A power value for that. So we don't have a gunner, which means we're going to have to go defensive there. We are... I think we are going to have... Excuse me. Actually, better idea. I think we're going to go with a... Yeah, I think we are going to go defensive on the card we flip. Right, so we... Okay. Okay. Combat now begins. The enemy will fire back at you, which is probably going to be... So we're looking at the P-47, which is their firepower. Okay, so we just do it the same way. Firepower 12. So this is P-47 fighter combat. And I don't think I ever rolled for the second hit. Yeah, I don't... We'll just call it minor damage. We'll pretend that we rolled for it. Fighter versus P-47. Disadvantaged, 12 firepower. So now flipping the next combat card, we find that we are taking 4 hits. That's a problem. And then we're using the defensive options on... We're using the defensive options on the next card we flip. Which is a barrel roll, so we avoid 2 hits. So we'll cancel, so we're only rolling for... Actually... We're only rolling for 2 hits on that. So apply. Okay. So we weren't able to shake that off, but we are rolling for a new type of hit, for 2 new hits, which is somewhat fortunate. A 31 is a starboard engine hit. This is bad. And our other hit here's damaged. That was a starboard engine hit. Okay, so we're turned. Nope, we're turned like that. 31. Uh-oh, that just completely wiped out our starboard engine. Our starboard engine. That seems like it's going to be a huge problem. I'm going to vote for the Gitfo plan at this point, which I believe, so now, or successfully ends the combat by getting away. So we are going to try to get away here. And I need to refresh my memory on how I disengage. As your action instead, it must be tailing or advantage. So I've got to turn. So I've got to get turned, which means. All right, so we're going to try a. So we're going to have to try a tight turn. But I have a feeling we're going to get shot down trying to get away. So round 2, we are going to try a tight turn, which is improving position by 1 or 2 if we're agile. And I'm sure that's a keyword that it would have, but we are not agile. So we improve our position by 1, which means we are going to end up head on. But, all right, then we draw for another 12 power. So P47 attack 2. So we're drawing another attack card on a P47 power, or 12 power. That's going to be another 3 hits. And then do we just improve? Yes, so we just improve our position, but we have to roll for 3 more hits. So we'll see how these go. This could either be really good or really bad. Because we already have 1 engine completely out. I think if both get knocked out, that seems like we're just going to get shot down. So let's... Actually, for each engine that's damaged, the aircraft loses 2 speed. Plane must break off combat and emergency glide to a landing. So it looks like we've got to roll for another hit. We've got to roll for another 3 hits. 52 is another airframe hit. Uh-oh. Next hit. When damage equals the airframe total for that aircraft, it's destroyed. Oh joy. 51 is a tail hit, as if we didn't have enough problems. So that's a tail hit. So we took an airframe, a tail hit, and now we're taking a 13 is a starboard wing hit. So we're not just in catastrophic shape, but I think we'd better find a way to get the hell out of here, and soon. Right, so now that we are head-on, thankfully, now we should have the option to be able to Gitfo, and yeah, I think disengage. So if we're advantaged, which we're not, if we're tailing, it's... So actually, wait a second. Advantage means I think I've got to get turned. So I think I've got to get turned again. So head on. Yeah, I got to get him turned. So I've got to make, looks like I've got to make one more pass so I can get turned again. So we're going to go for another tight turn instead of a draw. And then we'll deal the attack. 12 power. He's going to go to the discard pile, and here we'll draw. Another 3 hits. Oh joy. So this could end up with us being able to somehow get away. Or more likely, knowing my dice rolls, end up with me getting shot down. But let's find out. 51 is another tail hit. Seems like we're just headed for trouble at this point, and I put my pen down again. Here it is. Tail hit. $32 is minor damage. And hit 3. $25 is the port engine, and the port engine is now out. So now we have to go straight into an emergency landing. Not everyone made it out alive. You're not kidding on that one, Jay. So we've got to go straight to an emergency landing, which is maybe that an interceptor is forced down to combat if both engines are knocked out. So we're going to try to. So we're actually going to bail out here. We're going to try to bail out. And we'll see a poor enough roll on. So roll for each crew on the bailout chart. So we've got the pilot. We've got the pilot, and the board chutes, which is probably the wingman. My German, in case you couldn't tell, is absolutely atrocious. Let's see, where's the parachute roll here? Oh, it's over here on. So roll a d6 for each crewman who bails out. So we'll roll black for the pilot, white for the board chutes. Unfortunately, nobody's got any kind of positive modifiers here would be bad. We'd want negative modifiers. Both of us safely parachute out. Which probably also means we're going to lose some number of sorties while we get back to base. So if we manage to parachute out... no, actually it looks like... So rough and crash landings... Parachute to safety, roll for each crew member, assuming you survive. Lose the next sortie while we get to a... So we lose one sortie while we get back to base, which means we'll be into... Which means this would be October 1943, sortie 6. Right? Yes. I think we'll try one more sortie. That first one was taking way longer than I was expecting it to. So October 43, number 6. First thing we do is roll for. First couple things we'll do is roll for weather and our target. So we're back to base in Munster, and everything's back to full strength. We've had to get a whole new aircraft after getting that first one shot down. 2 ammo there, okay? Alright, we need the raid chart. That'll be a 2d6 roll. Four says they're going after Danzig this time. That's a Bremen target. Alright, that was a shot down. Okay, now we roll for weather, which will be a 2d6 roll again. Five is once again good weather. So that's very welcome. We'll move to the Bremen box, which is actually pretty deep over France. So we're not going to be... Doesn't look like we're going to be up in the air for too long on this one. So we'll roll for interception here. This should be a fairly short patrol once I get my hands on the right chart. There we are. 2d6. A 9 is we're advantaged on the bomber. That's fortunate. They've probably long since let their ordnance fly. Target craft that we're looking at here. Zero says we're looking at a B-17G. Grab another B, grab the B-17 back out. Bring the bomber chart over. And we are starting advantage to this one. We have a choice here if we want to start at long range. Alright, with the advantaged against the bomber, player shoots first in the long range round of the pass, then the bomber returns fire. So in this case, fire is not simultaneous, and I will go after the bomber first. So, bomber first. We're at long. Okay, and then we'll fire. Still considered to be loaded with bombs. Obviously, it's not loaded in Bremen. So I'll be drawing for bombers attacked in the third or later. Okay. Might have taken flak damage. Roll 1d6 for each bomber. Oh, so we have to roll for flak first. So since it's in the third or later endurance box, it's considered to have dropped its bomb. So it might have taken some flak, which means we have to roll a d6 here and subtract 3 for the number of random hits it's already taken. That's a 4 minus 3, so it's taken 1 random hit already. Alright, then roll these as random airframe hits. So we'll roll for 1 random airframe hit. There's the D10. A 1 is just a plain airframe hit. All right, so now that we've done flak, now we get to go into our first attack. So I think here I think here we're going to throw everything that we've got at it. So this will be 12 firepower at long. So we fire first, and we're going to aim. We're going to aim at the airframe. I'm going to keep pounding that. So we're flipping everything over. We'll draw our card here, and here we will find 12 firepower is a group point hit. So we're dealing a... So that's a group point hit, which means since we were aiming at the airframe, that'll be a controls hit. Another airframe. A gunner hit, and 2 randoms. So I'll get those hits straightened out. So that's a controls hit, another airframe hit, a gunner hit, and we'll roll 2 more. D10 is in here already. Nine is a starboard engine hit. And we'll roll for, once again, odds will be inboard, evens will be outboard on the starboard engine. Starboard outboard engine. And our last random hit, 7 is no effect. That one's unfortunate. All right, pass 2 will close into medium. Oh, and then actually we've got defensive fire first. So we'll flip over another card for that. And on defensive fire, the bomber will deal 3 minus 1 is actually 3. Yeah, minus 1 is 2 hits. It would actually help if I note the P-17G with the P-47. All right, flipping over for a fighter hit. $16 is a booster hit, but we don't have the GM boost. So we just treat that as minor damage. And then the other hit $43 rear guns. So our rear guns are inoperable. Right. Okay, now we'll move it into medium range. Still advantaged. Actually, when does the bomber... Player must decide whether to attack again or break off. Okay, so we are going to take a pass at this one. So we're... Actually, we are going to just... There are no escorts and your bomber decides to make another pass. Okay. So we are going to attack it again? Yep, we are going to attack again. So we're moving in. So we're moving into medium range this time. And we're going to throw our full power at it again. So medium range. We're now out of our ventral ammo, but we've still got plenty in the forward, in the other forward cannon. So this is in the nose gun. So still 12 firepower to deal 4 hits. And then we'll draw for... Actually, we deal plus 1 hit. Oh no, that's plus 1 hit for the... That's +1 for the B-17, so we do have defensive fire here. So we'll draw another combat card. 1 + 1 is 2 random hits. So we'll roll for our hits on the... Actually, since I've got the fighter damage chart up, I'll roll for those first. And I forgot to designate that, but we're aiming at the airframe again. All right, a 42 is a port wing hit. And 14 is the radio. So now the radio is gone. We presumably... Radio hit, for some reason, is not listed on here. That's actually moderately annoying. Oh, radio is inoperable for the rest of the sortie. No wingman orders or assistance. That's delightful. Oh, there it is. Okay, so the radio's out. So now we have to roll for the bomber hits that we deal to the bomber. Alright, first bomber hit, once we flip the chart over. A 0 is a Bombay hit, but we can't do anything with that because... We can't do anything with that this time because we attacked it in the... So nothing there. Because we attacked it way too late to be able to take the bombs out. 9 is a starboard engine hit. If this is odds, we take out the outboard engine. It's even, so we deal a hit to the inboard engine, the inboard starboard engine. Next hit. A 3, that's an airframe and another gunner hit. Which actually should have dealt out 1 less hit. Because the gunner was out, so we're not going to deal the radio hit. And the last hit. 4 is a random wing hit. So the random wing hit here. 5 is a controls hit. Oh, right, I've already got one there. All right, then we're going to move into close range. Close at 8 firepower. We'll see what card we deal here. At close range, 8 power is all of 1 hit. Oh joy, good thing we didn't draw that as our defensive fire card. And we're still aiming at the airframe. As for, actually that is 2 hits. So as for defensive fire, they're dealing +2 hits because they're at close range. 2 + 2 is 4 hits. That, I guarantee you, if we had that 4 hits as our defensive card, that would have been a lot worse. As is, we're probably going to probably just going to take it on the chin in this one. For our first airframe hit, a 6 is a crew injury. All right, so we're rolling 2d6. Actually, I'm going to grab some different colored dice so I can roll both of these at the same time. Come on, there we go. All right. I'm going to use the 2 red dice for the crew member and the black die for the severity. 4 is a pilot hit, and the 5 is a serious wound. So unfortunately, we're not able to just wipe out the pilot on the... We're not just able to wipe out the pilot on this one. However, they now get a shot at us. Excuse me. 4 hits for the bomber against us. First hit. 41 is now the radio's out. Actually, we dealt the gunner 2 hits, so that cancels out the second 2 hits. So now the radio's out. And 32 minor damage, so we'll shake that one off. And I believe there's a possibility that the bomber can still crash out if we didn't inflict enough damage. Right, so I'll roll for that later, but now we've got to deal with this fighter. So now we've got the P-47 coming at us again. I'll leave the markers there for a second. But we are disadvantaged at the P-47. So I'll bring the fighter target chart and shot and leave the bomber alone for the time being. So I definitely want to get out of here as fast as I can. Unfortunately, I can't enlist the help of the... I can't enlist the help of my wingman since the radio's out. Fighter, combat. So once again, he's got 12 firepower. And what are we going to do defensively? Am I going to use a card, or am I just going to use a tight turn? I think we're going to just use a tight turn here, since I want to be able to break away as fast as I can. I'm not going to take a chance on a card. So we'll flip over a card here for the P-47, and at 12 firepower, they're dealing 4 hits. Yikes. That's a problem. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll roll for these. 51 is a tail hit. That could be bad. So we need a damage chit for the tail. Second hit is a 13. That's a starboard wing hit. Yikes. We are taking this one on the chin. Next hit. 53 is minor damage. And the last hit, 36 is a controls hit. Again, that could have been a lot worse. So a controls hit. Alright, if the controls cause the plane to not be able to use any ACM for the rest of the sortie, assuming it's not shot down. Okay. Alright, so now we're looking at round 2 on this sortie. I think I definitely want to go for another tight turn, because as soon as I get advantaged, I'm turning for home. Like I said, the thing is, I don't want to take a chance on another card flip. With 12 firepower, we have 5 hits coming in. Uh-oh, that's bad. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, we are probably just getting domed on this one. So first hit. An 11, that's a crew injury. Okay, now we'll roll on the right chart. So now I'm rolling for the German crew. We'll do it the same way. 11 is the board shoots, and the 3 is a light wound, so that's fortunate. Board shoots takes a light wound. There we are. Next hit. Oh, I don't need those yet. Hopefully I don't. 13 is another starboard wing hit. We're probably about to get shot down here. Next hit. 66 is the fuel tank. Yikes. Yeah, I think we are definitely breaking off and heading for home after that hit. Next hit. 45 is a starboard wing hit, so yes, the plane is being shot down. And 34 is another tail hit, so that's just the one way that the plane's being shot down. But yes, the starboard wing is enough to get it shot down. Now we have to roll for parachuting. So after the... So maybe that is forced down. Okay, so yeah, it's been shot down, which means we're going to try to bail out. So now we're rolling the same way that we did earlier, except now the board shoots has a +2 modifier on a light wound. Black is going to be for the pilot. White is going to be for the board shoots. And a 7, so he will take a serious wound. The pilot will get out. So pilot out. BD takes a serious wound. And now we have to determine if the bomber got shot down anyway. So add 1 for each engine out. Nope, we didn't take out an engine or any system 1 point short of aircraft destruction. So that was the... Okay, so it's counting engines separately, so we don't count that. So it's just on a roll of a 1. And the B-17 very much made it back safely, so we didn't get credit for... So we didn't even get credit for being able to take that thing down. It made it back to base to fly against us another day. But that, and I think that is where I'm going to call it a playthrough of Interceptor Ace Volume 1. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if it's the fact that I'm rusty at this game or what happened, but I don't think I like this game as much as I liked... I don't think I like the air games in this universe as much as I like the sub-games in this world. I think just having the additional detail of the aircraft orientation made it a little bit confusing for me. I think I would prefer to have that abstracted a bit more, as it is in Mag 23 Guadalcanal and games in that universe, where that's not something you necessarily have to worry about. You don't really have to worry about the ins and outs of the actual air combat on that tactical level where you're dealing with an individual plane. So I think I like having a lot of that detail taken out of the game. I'd rather focus on, at least from the air war, I'd rather kind of focus on the 10,000 foot view of telling the story that happens with it. So, sorry if I'm kind of swaying your opinion away from this game, Tony, but like I said, maybe it's rust, maybe I'm a little salty with how I performed on this one, because I know I do have a habit of my performance affecting my enjoyment of a game as well. But this one, I just wasn't as big a fan of in the world. But that's just kind of my thoughts on this one. So that will do it for this playthrough of Interceptor Ace Volume 1. Still busy coming up on the channel. Saturday Mystical Munchies will continue out of the official Diablo cookbook with the side Hoodwinked Honey Carrots. Next week Sunday we're continuing the fall campaign in Astro Knight's Eternity with the second scenario of that one. I'm pulling up my content schedule so I can remember what I'm doing for next week's video. Next week we Next week is the 18th. We are starting a new background campaign next week in Hero Realms, and I'll explain what I mean by a background campaign when we get into that video. Thank you for watching this video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.